An interesting property of all the solid forms in the family editor is the visible property. This property appears as a checkbox on the Properties palette, and it makes the selected element invisible. Now, at first you may wonder, why would you bother to create a solid element only to hide it by unchecking the visible checkbox? Well, in most cases you wouldn't do this. However, like all the properties on the Properties palette, the visible property can be controlled parametrically. Now, this opens up all sorts of useful possibilities. So in this movie, we'll explore a really simple example of when you might want to use this powerful feature, and we'll see some other examples throughout the training series as well. So I'm back in my table family. I've got a version of it called Visibility, if you're following along with the exercise files. What I'm going to do is use the visibility parameter to take this keystone that we've been working with on top of the table and make it optional. So I'm going to create some versions of the family that show the keystone and other versions that don't. So when you're flipping through your product catalog, you can buy it with the power option or you can buy it without the power option. And so we'll be able to check and uncheck that option. So that's our goal here. So if we look over here on the Properties palette, we're simply going to control this checkbox right here under Graphics, Visible. You can see there's a checkbox right here. We're going to control it parametrically. If I just uncheck it, it's off all the time. If I leave it checked, it's on all the time. But if I use this button right over here on the right-hand column, I can control this object's visibility with a yes-no parameter. So a yes-no parameter just controls a checkbox. If it's yes, it's checked. If it's no, it's unchecked. So let's click Add Parameter, and I'm going to give this a name. It wants to group it under Other by default. I tend to prefer to put that under Graphics. It seems like a better place for it, but you can really put it under any one of these categories that you like that makes sense to you. I am going to control this as a type parameter because, again, I'm assuming that this is an option that I would purchase out of the catalog that way. I either want to buy it with the keystone or without. Click OK, and click OK again. This will gray out the visible parameter. It'll put an equal sign on the button to let us know that that's now being controlled parametrically. And otherwise, there's not really any other clues that you'll have on screen that this is being controlled parametrically. Now let's do one other thing. Let's return to Family Types, and let's add a new type to our family that uses the keystone setting. Now you'll see under Graphics, here's our Show Keystone parameter. And for all of my existing types, it defaulted to On. So I'm going to switch to the type that I want to create, 48 by 72. Click New, and that basically copies the existing one. I'll call this 48 by 72 no keystone. And click OK, and then just simply uncheck the box. When I click Apply, what you'll see is over here in the 3D, it just simply grays it out. The family editor does not actually make it fully invisible. If it did, they're concerned that you wouldn't actually understand that the object was there. So in the family editor, it just simply grays it out. That's the way it conveys that the object's actually invisible. To really see it truly become invisible, you have to load it into the project. Let's switch to another family type here. Apply. You see it comes back to full intensity. So it is working here in the family editor. Let's go ahead and OK this and load it into the project to really test it out. So here we have our sandbox project loaded again. I'm going to simply place a version of it right here, and let me place another one right next to it. I'm going to select the first one. If I open up the list, you'll now see a no keystone option is available on the list. And already here in the plan view, you can see the keystone has disappeared. And if I open up my 3D view of the conference room, you can see that one of them shows the keystone and one of them doesn't. So this is a really simple example of controlling the visibility of an object with the yes-no parameter. This is not the only place that a yes-no parameter can be used. We can use it for other things as well, and we'll see some other examples later in the training series. But the use of the yes-no parameter to control visibility is a powerful way to add variation to your family types that would otherwise only be possible by creating duplicate and often redundant copies of the entire family.